Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Razovy, and I just want to welcome you to the first ever lesson to the Razovy Learning Japanese course. I hope you will enjoy yourself. I'm basically going to take you from a complete beginner level, knowing absolutely nothing about Japanese. Maybe you've watched some anime, you might have picked up a couple of words fair and square, but I think that most people that are watching this truly have no clue about the Japanese language and want to at least invest a little bit of time by watching this video in understanding the Japanese language. Now, I won't promise you to take you to an advanced level where you will be able to understand everything, because I won't. In this first lesson, we are mainly going to focus on different greetings. Like I said, the absolute basics. However, eventually I will teach you, how to read Japanese specifically, also how to recognize kanji, which is quite difficult. I'll give you some homework, and it's of course up to you whether or not you do it. But I will give you some homework as well. In every lesson I will. And we're mainly just going to focus today on the different greetings. But there is way more ahead in different lessons. Now, assuming that you have never ever done any kind of Japanese learning before, or even if you did, maybe you just didn't pay attention, fair enough. I believe that instead of first focusing on, learning Japanese words or learning the Japanese text, right, or kanji, I think that the first thing you should do is get the absolute basics out of the way. And in my opinion, that is greetings. In Japanese, there are of course many different types of greetings. Now, the first one is the absolute basic, and this is the one that anyone should know, which is of course konnichiwa. Konnichiwa is basically, it's not too formal, right? You can say this to anyone, but it's not too informal either. Konnichiwa can be used in basically any case, whether it's morning, evening, or during the day. Konnichiwa is always okay. If you are unsure what greeting to use, konnichiwa is the go-to. Now, of course, in the morning, it can be different. You can still use konnichiwa, that's fine. But especially if it's early in the morning, most people tend to say ohayo, and ohayo is, especially when I first heard it, I thought it was kind of funny because it reminded me of the state Ohio, and I think that especially for Americans here, it'll remind you of the state of Ohio too. To remember this one, early in the morning, Ohio, the state, Ohio. There are actually a couple of variants of Ohio. If you meet with a friend, and especially if you are a girl, or at least you identify as one, you can also say oha, but only do that if you are very familiar with the person that you are saying this to. This is not something you would say to an elderly person. That is highly disrespectful. Maybe if it's your own grandmother or grandfather, and if that person is therefore okay with it, but most of the times you don't say oha, especially not to strangers. You just don't do that. Now, the final one, which is basically the formal one, is ohayo gozaimasu. And the gozaimasu one is actually something that you can use with other stuff as well. Now, for today, I'm not going to focus on gozaimasu, but gozaimasu is used a lot. The reason that you use gozaimasu, in this case ohayo gozaimasu, is because it's formal. When I would meet someone that was older than me, especially if it was very clear that the person was older than me, I would always use ohayo gozaimasu. Why? Because it's respectful. That person is older than you. Same thing with your boss, whether that person is older than you or not. If it's your boss, you say ohayo gozaimasu. You don't say ohayo to your boss or to an elderly person. You can. It's not the end of the world. If you would say oha to your boss or something, that's you don't do that. Ohayo is still okay, but you say ohayo gozaimasu to people that are socially speaking higher in rank. Now then we go to good evening, which is konbanwa. Now, konbanwa doesn't have a gozaimasu, so you can't say konbanwa gozaimasu. That doesn't make any sense in the Japanese language. It's just konbanwa. Same thing with konnichiwa. You don't say konnichiwa gozaimasu. You don't do that. So there's no incredibly polite version of konnichiwa, and there's no incredibly polite version of konbanwa. It's just konbanwa. So you can never go wrong with that. Now, there are some other ones that are a little bit more posh, I guess, or a little bit... No, actually, that's not the right way of saying it. I guess it's more like you want to actually know something from the person. Like, are you okay? Or is everything going well? You mainly say this to people that you already know, which would be genki desu ka? You can also shorten it to genki. You need to make sure that it's a question, right? Genki. So you need to go up in voice, but only say genki if it's a friend or something, right? If it's an elderly person or whatever, you say genki desu ka. The desu ka makes it more polite. I will go over why that is in later lessons. For now, just trust me. Genki desu ka? How are you? So is everything okay? Then we also have hajimemashite. This greeting is only used basically once if you meet a person, because it means nice to meet you. And hajimemashite is not necessarily incredibly polite. It's not necessarily incredibly impolite. This is just what you do. However, there is a less polite version of hajimemashite, which is actually domo. And domo, it can be used as nice to meet you, but you only do this if the person is younger than you and if the setting allows it. You have to feel this. Because you guys are new to this whole thing, don't use domo. Eventually you will get the gist of why, in what situation you can use domo. But in this case, I would just limit myself to hajimemashite. It's always nice, it's friendly enough, and it's formal enough that no one will be butthurt, basically. Now let's focus on some more less informal ones, especially incredibly informal ones. I think you should know that too, because especially in anime, a lot of these informal ones are used. I think that the one that is used the most, especially by women, would be cheese. So not cheese, which would be cheese, no, cheese. And in that case, it's just hello, that's it. But it's mainly used by women, again. I have heard men use it before in Japan, but it's not as common. Mainly women tend to use this, cheese. Especially high schoolers use this. This is an incredibly informal way of speaking. Also, if you're older than high school age, at some point you need to lose this greeting, basically. In Ichiranaida Nagatoro-san, please don't bully me Nagatoro-san, this is used a lot. So make sure to take a look at some of the episodes there. They use this a lot. Especially men, the following one, use this, which is yo. Like in English we have this too, right? Yo, what's up, right? Yo. And the Japanese use this too, but it's a short form, so they say yo. And the final one that I want to discuss is yaho. And yaho is incredibly female. As a man, this is not used. But yaho is, again, it's mainly used by younger women, especially in high school age, maybe also still like college age, sure. And yaho is a very friendly way of greeting someone. Again, very informal. Don't do this to an elderly person or something. Don't do this to your boss. With your friends, you can definitely do this. These are the basic different greetings. And I actually wanted to make this video way shorter than it is right now, but I feel like I really want to go in depth in explaining all of this. So I hope that for the people that stuck around, that it was interesting. Now, next class, we will actually focus a lot more on like the basics of understanding certain words and how you can use certain words to make sentences, even though you have a very limited vocabulary. But for real, since I have done so many Japanese lessons and since I've done this for so many years, I know which words you're going to need to make like basic sentences. So we're going to focus on that next time. But for now, before next time even is there, I want to give you guys some homework. And I know that most people don't like homework, but in this case, I think that it's important for you. It's going to help you out in learning the language. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is that I want you to go over all of the stuff that we just did, right? All of the different words. And I want you to write them down. I don't want you to type them down. I want you to write them down. Get a special notebook for this or something and write down all of the different greetings that we discussed in this class. Now, once you've written those down, I want you, don't take this too serious, of course. What I want you to do is that whenever you watch anime, I want you to have this book with you, this notebook with you. And whenever you actually encounter one of the different greetings, whether it is oha or genki or domo or konnichiwa, whatever, whenever you encounter one of those, I want you to simply put a little cross next to the actual greeting that you encountered. That's all you gotta do. Now, why do I ask you to do this? Because some people now ask why, what's the point? Well, the reason that I'm asking you to do this is because it makes you familiar with the Japanese language. It actually helps you listen to the Japanese language. Because if you watch anime with subtitles, most people don't really actually listen to the Japanese language. They just read the subtitles. But it's important that you actually listen to what is being said. And of course, you don't understand any of it yet because this is the basics. But since you now know a couple of greetings, listen. Listen to if you can actually recognize some of these greetings. That's the first step. And the first step is always the most important one. But ladies and gentlemen, I truly hope that this video and this lesson was of interest to you. If it was, make sure to click on the like button and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I was Razovy. You were you. And I will see you guys later. Goodbye.